on the Ford 393 stroker. So part of the presentation I talk about the fillet seals on the crankshaft, as you can see here, and correct connecting rod installation into the engine. I won't repeat everything in the presentation because it's fairly straightforward. It is easy to make a mistake here, so it usually is indicated if you install the connecting rods in the wrong direction, because you'll get a lot of increased rotational torque and it will therefore be indicated, but we'll talk about it anyway. So the cap has been removed. This is a Scat connecting rod. All the part numbers will be in the video. As you can see here with the rod cap, you can see the big chamfer. Clevite bearings installed. The smaller chamfer is over here. The small chamfer faces the adjoining rod. The big end of the chamfer always faces the crank journal. Why? Because of this fillet. It's clearing that. Now, I mentioned in my voiceover portion, the Clevite bearing is machined to provide additional clearance. That's hard to see, so let's get close. You can kind of see that there. Okay, so for consistency, what Scat does is they've got numbers on the connecting rod and the cap. So you can kind of see that number in there. You line those numbers up and you will get, see the big end is still there? You will get that correct alignment every time you do that. So not to put too fine a point on a simple thing, but where you can get into trouble is, so you've set up all your pistons, all your spiral locks, and you're just sitting there, listening to your favorite tune or your podcast, and it takes a long time to put all those spiral locks on, and then you inadvertently flip one of those rods around. So it can be done. Now, as I mentioned, and I want to emphasize, if you get the large end, this towards the adjoining rod, what's causing the friction is the small end is an insufficient radius fillet clearance. So you get this small chamfer up against the fillet, which you can see there on the crankshaft journal, and that causes a ton of rotational torque. So again, the way to prevent that is you do the piston and rod installations one at a time, rotate the engine through, and if you're going to have a problem, you'll find it, and then you just make the correction. Okay, hope that helps. See you later.
Okay, let's keep this short, thank God. So, just Engine Builder 101 tutorial. So, using these 393 Scat stroker connecting rods, pretty common stuff. Same premise for the 408. So, these rods, looking at this blogosphere picture, you've got a chamfer on the big end, and you've got a very small chamfer on the other end of the rod. So, okay, so why is that? Like I said, let's keep this short. That big chamfer goes towards the crankshaft fillet radius. So that radius is on the crankshaft for stress concerns. So everyone pretty much does that. It's a good idea. So all you really need to know is install that big end there and have the smaller chamfer on the connecting rod facing the adjoining connecting rod, like you saw in the video. So some of you are rolling your eyes going, who in the world would make this mistake? Okay, if you're hanging your own pistons with like a spiral lock, you could install the piston on the connecting rod backwards, and then you would have this problem if you weren't paying attention. So the way to prevent that is just do the connecting rod and piston combination on the crankshaft one at a time, both front to back, and rotate the engine through, and it's obvious by inspection. You get a lot of rotational torque, and then you've got something to check fix. Okay, so final note here on this Clevite H series. So what the Clevite H series does is they have a greater crankshaft fillet clearance. So what they're trying to do is ensure the bearing shell itself doesn't also ride on the crank's fillet radius. So this is my connector rod. I'm using this on my engine. It's a real thing. So my rotational torque is just under, I think, 30 foot-pounds, the entire short block. So I did do them one at a time, but I also checked it when I was done, and I think it's pretty good. Okay, take care, fellas.
Let's turn that back on. Okay, so now we're going to start rotating here and see where the breakaway torque is. Here. Okay, so here we go with my new torque wrench. So, okay. That broke around 27 foot-pounds. So let's try it again. So here we go, here we go, here we go. About 27. Let me see here. Okay, here we go again. It was a little higher. I found that it's somewhat variable here. So it'll go a little slower and see where it breaks away. Okay, it'll start moving around 26, 27.